I have learned over time that pain has a personality. It can take over completely, to either paralyze you in defeat, or propel you in strength, to a place where you find purpose. It could be the pain of a business loss, a relationship gone sour, a failed career, a failed marriage, or, in my case, a child buried too early. Whatever your pain is, you can choose how to allow that pain to determine the outcome of your life. Walk with me through my journey of how I have allowed my pain to grow into a purpose so amazing and glorious. Justin, Growing Through the Pain of Loss, is a real-life account worth reading. Get your copy from Amazon and other leading online retail bookstores.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Author's Corner. Promises to be an exciting time tonight. Please just start sharing this, invite your friends. This is going to be an amazing one. Akin, what do we have in store for our viewers tonight?
Something exciting, something exciting. But I just wanted to, I know we say this all the time and all that, but we're not gonna stop saying it. We want to say thank you, once again for hanging in there with us, for watching, for bearing with our voices. And for your continual support. We're really grateful. We appreciate you so much and all that. So today, what do we have today? Yeah, today we are. So we've got a special guest today. Where do I start? He's say a few things about him. I mean, these are just a few things. Our guest author today is a leading light and a voice of inspiration in this generation. You know, he challenges thinking wherever he goes, and to many, he's regarded as an apostle of transformation for the African continent. You know, his singular dream, you know, what pushes him is to transform Africa one mind at a time. You know, making poverty and unemployment a choice and not a sentence. You know, he has consulted extensively for many top organizations around the world, including several Fortune 500 companies and the United Nations. Well, I mean, the reason why he's on today is one of the reasons because he's a prolific author. And some of the books he's written include Creative Thinking and, Living on the Edge. You know, he's a phenomenal man. And, I'll stop rambling. I want to introduce us today, Wale Akinyemi.
Thank you for having me. It's such a privilege here. Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry for rambling there. I didn't know what to pick because there's so much to talk about, and I was like, what should I pick? Should I talk about that? Should I hit that? Or but hey, it's all good.
That's the challenge with having him here, because you know, normally we would have had loads of questions ready to go, and then we kind of looked at it and we thought, which area are we going to dissect now? And that was an interesting one on that front. But Akin, the icebreaker question.
Yeah, so it's an interesting. I mean, you've done so much, while God's used you to do a lot, and with all these high profile activities that you've been involved in, what moment would you regard as your big breakthrough? I know you've I know there'll be quite a few of these, but which ones stand out the most?
I think my big break was, my story. I was in Kenya, I went to America, went to Nigeria, and then ended back in Kenya. And by the time I was getting back to Kenya, I was like Jonah, who had run away, from the will of God. And so by the time to Kenya, I was totally finished. I had lost virtually everything. And so I was literally starting again from ground zero. I like to say that we were so poor that even the poor at that stage called us poor. It was really bad. And for a stage, I was here in Kenya. My wife was still in Nigeria with the children. I was trying to use money to bring them back to join me in Kenya. And but I love writing. So I would go to the cyber cafe. I was staying in a place called Kilifi. I'll go to the cyber cafe and I just begin to research and send out mails, to people, some of the thoughts that I had, send them out. The person in charge of the cyber cafe was called Susan. She's still a friend of mine today. We became very good friends. So she would give me, extra minutes. And as I was sending out these emails, just starting where I was, that I'm a writer, as I was sending them out, one of them landed in the email box of someone who is very close to us also today. Her name is Dolly. Dolly forwarded to her principal at the HR college. Now, when he saw it, he loved one of the articles he read. It was actually on creative thinking. Not long after that, he became the executive director of the Institute for Human Resource Management. And when he was going to have his first conference, he remembered that article and he said, I want the guy who wrote that article to be my keynote speaker. Now, as a trainer, the people I needed most were HR people. Now, this guy had brought me in front of 250 or so HR people from the top companies. I think will go back in history as my big break, because after, we became very close. And he now told me, he said, look, I can't employ you, but what I would do is this. You develop courses You bring them to us, we will sell them, and then we do revenue share. And that was how I got back in my game. So I think that will go down as one of the biggest breaks. Another break was when, as a result of all those emails, somebody called me one day and said, Wale, I saw an email. Would you like to write in the newspaper? I thought he was kidding. And he said, all right, you know what? Just send 2 articles. I sent 2 articles. They loved it. And next thing, I'm giving primetime column in the major newspaper. And of course, that now took me to a whole new level of exposure. And that's why I keep saying, let's just start where we are.
Do you that's such an inspirational thing there, because one of the challenges so many people have is when they're looking for their big break, they don't do anything, they remain passive. But you kept writing, you kept using your gift, you kept using what you had in that moment. How difficult was that?
You know, it was difficult because it would have been more difficult for me to do that. You see, because even just going to the cyber cafe and writing, it gave me the feeling of I was doing something. Blessings going out and my coming in. It gave me that feeling of doing something. If I was not going out and I was staying at home, I probably would have gone crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. uh, uh, I want to home in on that point, because for some people, they may say, I don't have a gift, I don't have a talent. You had this, if you want to call it a gift of writing, before you got into that position where you found yourself, and you really just used your gift. You know, one of the things we talk about is the fact that um, it was the same gift that got Joseph into prison that got him out of the prison. But some people may say,
Mm,
well, I don't have a gift. I don't have a gift. What do
mm.
you say to those people going through that process where they say, oh, I don't have a gift?
You know, there is no human being on the face of the earth that God has not given something. Um, I was doing a particular deal for a government, and there was a guy who was there. This was years ago. It was actually Democratic Republic of Congo, and there was a guy whose only assignment was to, you see, the government only spoke Swahili and French. I am the mediator, I'm the guy, the broker. The people I have brought only speak English. So we had someone there whose job was to do the translation. His gift was because his gift to that table was that he could speak English and Swahili. That was the gift that brought him there, and he was not there for free. So the point I'm making is there is nobody that does not have something. The important thing is that the sad thing is many people have not discovered what they have. It's not that they
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you hammered in on something right there that I was just thinking about, and that's the thing. I totally believe it that every single person, God's given every single person a gift, but it's the discovery of that gift
Yes.
that's the issue. And so, how I mean, talking about discovery of the gifts, How, I mean, for someone who's lost at this point in time, who thinks he's giftless, how would he tap into, how does he discover, how does he begin to discover what God has given him?
All right. There are two dimensions to it. Number one, there is the easy one. Whatever your hand finds to do, just do it well. You know? So whatever your hand finds to do right now, just do it. But there are some things that I have learned over the years that help. Number one, what area of your life is it? Do you have the flow? You know, when I say the flow, you know that there are certain things that you like to do that somebody else hates to do. There are certain things you like to do somebody else hates to do. So that is your flow. Those things that naturally, like, and you see, for me, writing was my flow. I did not need to prepare. I did not need to pray. You know, it's just my flow. Then, number two, what area of your life do you always seem to get praise? You know, the truth is this: God knows that you like to be praised. We are in His image. He made us in His image. And so there is something God has put inside everybody that when you step in that place, you will get with that skill. Everybody has it. You know, it's very important for David. He said he was going to face Goliath. He said, look, there was a bear. I have dealt with those. So this Goliath will be just like the lion and the bear. You know, everybody has their own lion and bear. Everybody has victories in the past. So you need to identify those areas. Maybe you cooked some one day. Everybody just talked about, oh my God, you are an amazing. Maybe, you know, whatever it is, you spoke, and everybody, you became the guy that everyone else was quoting. Take of those things. All right. So where's your flow? Where is the praise? Where is the place where when you step in, people defer to you? You know, because everybody has his place of authority. There is no person without a throne. No person. Otherwise, I mean, the Bible was written to everybody. And he says, you have been made kings and priests. If every single person on the face of the earth gets saved today, there is a throne for them. And that throne is their place of authority, their place of dominion. Lamentations chapter 3, it is verse 37 also. It says, who is he that says, and it comes to pass when God has not commanded? Then the Bible says, where the word of a king is, there is power. Who can say, what doest thou? One translation says that the king has the final say. There is a place where everybody has final say. No matter how gifted I am, when it's to cook food, don't have any say. But there's somebody that has a final say in that area. When it comes to doing the lawn, you know, I don't have a say in that, but there is somebody that has it. And that's why when you look at the concept of leadership, leadership is actually a composite of success. What do I mean? You have a person who has won an election as a president. What you are seeing, he is the end of the chain. You have seen a leader in speech writing, a leader in strategy, a leader in propaganda. All those have come together to deliver this person that is at the end of that chain. So where is your flow? Where are you? Where do you get praise? Where do people defer to you? And then where are you most critical? Because I have found out we are more likely to be more critical in the area of our strength.
Wow.
All right. So where are you more critical? For instance, my calling is very, very simple. It's to empower people, it's to change thinking, to change mindsets. That's why I have books everywhere. Now, one of the things that I am very critical about is ignorance. And for me, an ignorant person is a person that ignores facts, a person that ignores. That is what makes a person ignorant. So I hope that has helped, those parameters.
Absolutely, absolutely. But there's a question that I want to ask here, and to our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you for all the comments that are coming in across those channels. If you have questions uh, for Dr. Wale here, please feel free, put those questions in on YouTube, whatever channel you're on, and we'll pass those across. But there's a question I have here for someone who is going through the process where the unexpected has just happened. What they have not planned for has just happened. And you have worked with a lot of people, with a lot of organizations in this area. Can you talk us through what the paradigm is in their minds at that initial moment? You know, when they call you, maybe you just had that one warehouse has just gone up in flames, or you've just lost your job, just lost your business. What is that paradigm that people usually have in their minds at that time, and what should they have?
All right, thank you. We don't even need to go far. Let me even give you my own story. I remember um, I was doing some job. This was years ago. I was doing some job for a particular government. And we had a meeting on I think it was on a Tuesday morning or so. We had a meeting. I met with the minister in charge, and pulled all the strings, done everything that, okay, we're doing this. We had submitted in fact, the meeting was because of my proposal. The minister had reached out to me, and they loved what I was proposing. They put a meeting together. The funding was there. Everything was there. We had the meeting on a Tuesday. Okay. Now, you can imagine my joy when I left that place. And of course, your head is thinking of all the things you are going to do when you execute that contract. Guess what? The morning, so the meeting, we all day having this meeting. On Wednesday morning, people are texting. You heard the news. What had happened? The minister had been removed. Now, it doesn't get worse than that. The minister, we've been planning this thing for so long. Just at that point, bang, the minister is removed. And one of my personal statements has been this. And I'm an optimist. I am a faith man. Okay? But one of the things I have learned is those who live ready never have to get ready. So for me, I am expecting the good to come. But like the three Hebrew young men, we know our God will deliver us. But let it be known to you that even if he's not, we will not bow down. You see, when it says that you shall have no other God but me, and we shall not worship idols, I refuse to make any government, any office, any individual my source, my provider. And I think this is important. Look, I've been through tough times. All right, we've been through all sorts of times, but at the end of the day, I always have looked to God as my source. When Corona came, one of the things we kept saying to ourselves is that heaven is not on lockdown. And that was, you see, I had said that to myself so much. And then I had read certain books. And this is why, let me share something with you. Why I thought I love reading. Now, the wedding at Cana, that was the very first miracle of Jesus. So Jesus had not done any miracle before that time. So nobody knew the protocol for miracles. Nobody knew. So they get there, and his mother, Mary, when they had no wine, why did she go and meet Jesus? What made her think that Jesus could help? No miracle had ever been done. Then she goes to meet Mary, and of course, he says, my time is not yet. And then she says, listen, she turns to the people and says, whatever he tells you to do, do. How did she know? No miracle had ever been done. But as you read, you will discover that certain things happened. She put those things in her heart. Certain things happened. She put those things in her heart. So a day came when a demand was made. She just pulled out the things that were in her heart. Now, let me apply that in normal day-to-day living. I read some books. There's this one. It's called The Startup, okay, by Dan Senor and Saul Singer. And it's a story, it's a book about, Israel, the journey of the Israelites. And then there is From Third World to First by Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of Singapore. Now, listen to, in Startup Nation, they said that Israel was surrounded by, or is surrounded by, hostile nations. So these guys who are Jews themselves, they said Israel prospered, listen, not in spite of the hostility, but because of the hostility. Because they suddenly got to a point where they realized, we have all these people around us who don't like us, we better wake up. And so their first assignment was, how do we defend ourselves? So if you look at that, technology, the technological and industrial rise of Israel, it came out of military. We have to defend ourselves. How do we feed ourselves? All right. So one of the things I learned is that whenever there is adversity, somewhere in there will be an opportunity that I need to consciously look for or pray out and say, God, show me the opportunity that has come with this adversity.
Wow. Akin, do you want to pick?
I'm taking it in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, taking it in. Okay, just before you do that, let me put a question to Wale here from YouTube. Somebody is asking here on YouTube, he says, what is the most preferred media for expression of the written word in the current world that we live in?
Oh dear, I think I'm the wrongest person to ask that question. You know why? See, I love the smell of paper. You see, I just love. So I think when you have more sophisticated authors show up, maybe you put that question to them. I just love, when I'm sure you see my Bible, I am underlining, I am writing, and all that. So in that regard, I'm very old-fashioned. However, I am very active on social media, and I used to write for the Daily Nation there for about 6 or so, and then now I write for the East African, which is part of that whole family of the Nation Media Group. But I do a lot in the newspaper, on social media, on Facebook, Wale Akinyemi resource page. I'm always writing stuff there. But paper, I will never let go of. I'm sorry.
I think it goes back to something we were saying, I think last week, where really there are no limitations when it comes to writing.
Yep.
You can use any medium can be effective. There are no limitations whatsoever. And like you see, he loves the smell of paper. So whatever you say, you cannot take paper out of that house. So in a lot of paper-free environments, you're not going to find Wale there. It's not going to work.
Absolutely not. That's too sophisticated for me. I'm a village boy. That's too sophisticated for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for that person, and what I would encourage is that if you check on our YouTube channel, there are a series we did over the last sort of 3-4 weeks. I think we probably dealt with it last week or the week before, where we talked about the different options that are available. Look, go where your following is, right? For some people, Facebook doesn't work quite as well. They've got YouTube following. Look for what you can do. Obviously, you can't publish a book to YouTube, but you may be able to talk about it. You may be able to advertise the fact that you have a book and create a YouTube channel where you talk about your book and things like that. But we'll answer that question again. If you need more information, please reach out to us and we'll address that. Akin, over to you for the next question.
Yeah. So coming back here, I mean, so now you've got a person who knows what his gift is, and he begins to operate in it, but he just finds himself in this let's say in like a tunnel. You understand? And it's like, what while he's in that tunnel. I mean, we say this thing a lot that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, but while you're in that tunnel, what do you do? What do you do? How do you encourage yourself to keep on going?
All right. I mean, it's a very popular saying. We say that you saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you suddenly discover it's the light of an oncoming train, and so things go from bad to worse. One of the things I have found out, again, I will go back to my spiritual roots. Elijah was suicidal because he thought he was alone. Okay. One of the things that has really helped me is a strong support system. And for me, the biggest support system has been my family, my wife, my children, and my brothers, because we are so close. There is nothing that I'm going through that I go through. I think those days are over, and I think that's important. You need to look at your networks, look at your relationships, and ask yourself. Let me give you a very simple example. There was a time I was very ill, okay? And I had to go in for surgery. And just before going into theater, where they have been prepping me and all that, then they say, oh, we're not sure if insurance will cover this particular surgery. So as they are wheeling me into the preparation room to, do that, I sent a text to my brothers. I said, guys, this is going on. I don't know if insurance will pay. Please sort it out with Tomide, with my son. That was it. But when I sent that, I could go into surgery relaxed. I knew my brothers would take care of it. Of course, eventually insurance did come through. But the point I'm making is when I was younger, I was trying to prove a point. You're trying to prove that you are strong. You're trying to prove that you can handle it. Look, my friend, I'm not proving a point to anybody again. If I am going through anything, I will shout very loudly to the people in my support system. And and all you need is somebody to give you a different perspective. All you need is somebody to just talk with you, sometimes listen to you. All right. And that's why I always believe that journey of the yes, you've identified where you're going. Certain question. What do I need in terms of resources? And then who do I need? There is a reason Jesus himself sent them out 2 by 2. There is a reason for that. Okay.
In the book Creative Thinking, you talked about the gift of interpretation, and you described some stories there. Do you want to talk about that? Because I think that what I hear you saying there is that the way you interpret the situation goes a long way to whether or not that situation becomes one that overcomes you, or one that you at least have a bit of strength to live through. So talk us through what you were trying to pass across in that chapter on the gift of interpretation.
All right. Thank you so much. Um, how do I put this? We are not victims of the things that happen to us. We are victims of our interpretation of the things that happen to us. Because the things that happen to us, it's not exclusive. There are people who have gone through worse things. All right. So the interpretation and the example I gave a couple of examples of when I was working in a research institute, and we were told, the government had asked for us to do some research on something. My directors handed the job to me. I did the whole thing. And even when it was time to submit it to the head of state, then I was the one that was sent on that mission, But what I did not know was that by the time I was delivering it, the document I was delivering was the work I had done, but they had removed my name. Right? So now this thing was celebrated. They got accolades and all that for it. I felt cheated. I was so hurt. So I went to meet my mother, and I was crying because I felt cheated. And this was my first job, I felt so cheated. And my mother said, "Will you wipe those tears out of your face?" Uh, and sometimes, when we are looking for somebody to sympathize with us, sometimes sympathy can kill you. So she said, "Will you wipe those tears off your face?" Then she asked a question. When a chicken lays eggs and you take the egg, does the chicken cry? No. So why are you crying? You have laid egg. They have taken the egg. There are more eggs inside you. Go and lay more eggs. Keep laying them. Do you know that was that was 1990. So that's how many years ago. But I still remember that every day. And so I never play victim. All right? Never. And when you remember interpretation, Joseph is a good example. His brothers had sold him, and they said, you know what? Let us kill a goat, put the blood, and let's go and tell our father that an animal had destroyed our brother. And they went in Genesis 37. They went from 31. They took Joseph's coat, killed a kid of the goats, dipped the coat in blood, and they sent the coat of many colors. And they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know now whether it is your sons or not. And he knew it. Now listen, they did not have to tell him their story. They just showed circumstantial evidence, and they allowed him to make the conclusion himself, and they agreed with him. Listen to what he said. He said, he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. He was mourning for a child that was alive. Now, this is the worst part. And all his sons and daughters rose up to comfort him. He refused to be comforted. And he said, I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus the father wept for him. Look, if we play victim, if we, we are not moved by fact. Fact is the problem. Truth is the solution. And his word is truth. So for me, I learned that no matter what it is, my interpretation will determine the next phase of my life.
Okay, so you have to go and buy the book. You have to go and buy that book.
That's a very interesting thing that your mom, bless her, what she said, because not what, as you were saying that, what just hit me was that if you know the person, if you know the person who gave you the gift in the first place, no matter what they take, the gift is always in you, and the gift will always produce. So really, it never really matters. Anyone can take. You can take what I do, but you can't take the gift. You will always produce.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting one. I need that owe that your mom. You have to say that thing in Yoruba though.
Well, Akin and I have the same mother, so you should say it, not me.
No, he's not too affluent with the mother tongue.
Hey, don't try that. Don't try that. Otherwise, we will have the next program in Yoruba.
Oh boy. But still within the book, there's I wonder, because time's really going at a fast pace. But I want us to touch when you talk about the creative thinker and the logical thinker.
Yeah.
Can you just touch on that a bit?
The thing is that most of us have been trained in logic. What do I mean by that? The human brain is a natural logic processing machine. So when I say 2, 4, 6, 8, instinctively, you know what is coming next. Now, if I say 1, 7, 9, 27, 32, you are confused. So most human beings have been trained to think logically. Now, Albert Einstein said, logic will take you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. Okay? Now, logic is what I call straight line assumptions that are characterized by the expression all things being equal. But the truth is, all things are rarely equal. Now, people whose training has been steeped in all things being equal, when they face situations that are not logical, they don't know what to do. Now, don't get me wrong, logic has its place. So, when you go to a doctor and the doctor says, you're sick, you go to a doctor, the doctor asks you some questions. Those questions, what is the doctor trying to establish? He's trying to establish a logical sequence. When he has established a logical sequence or a pattern, then he can prescribe. Criminology, one of the things they have used to catch a lot of people is logic. What is the pattern? What is the sequence? But in every field, you have that time that comes when everything defies logic. And then you now look for an expert. In fact, when we talk of thinking outside the box, it is the box of logic. It is the box of a straight line assumption. Now, when we go inside, I did an analysis of inside the brain of a logical thinker. So maybe a thought comes. That thought could be buy a new car. Now, that thought begins to go around. It is so fast. It is looking for a pattern to justify the thought. Now, it's like Jesus showed up with a particular guy and he said, would you be made whole? And the guy said, I have nobody to carry me into the pool. You see, that was a straight line assumption that the only way I can get healed is if I get somebody to carry me into the pool. So the brain goes into overdrive looking for a pattern. And then it begins to come up with, oh my God, I don't have a good job. My family is poor. I don't know anyone who can help me. Because the brain has not found a pattern, what happens? The thought is discarded. All right? It is discarded because there is no logical pattern. But let's look at the brain of a creative thinker. So the same thought comes, buy a new or get a new car. Now, the thought is processed in the brain, but this time it's not looking for a pattern. It is looking for the one thing that is more powerful than logic. It's looking for a motive. Why? And you see, the guy that goes to steal knows that if I am caught, I will go to jail. But there is a motive that overrides logic. The guy that does drugs knows that if I am caught, I will go to jail. In fact, in some countries, I will be executed. He still goes on to do it. Why? Because motive overrides logic. So, in the mind of a creative thinker, the thought comes and it's been processed. It's not looking for a pattern now. It's looking for a motive. So you now create motives. I deserve it. My life will be more comfortable. It will be cheaper to maintain on the long run. It will make me feel good with myself. It is safer. It can prolong my life. You see, even though there is no pattern, even though there is no logical sequence, once the brain can create a motive, the motive will override logic. Stage 2, once you've created motive will begin to create pictures. Why is this important? It's because if I tell you right now, I see a red BMW, what you saw in your head was not RED BMW. No, what you saw was an image. You saw the picture of a red BMW. Now, motive takes you to the stage where you now begin to see pictures. You see, And why is this important? I can tell you something, and I do this often when I'm doing training sessions. I give people an instruction in Yoruba. Of course, I make sure there is no Yoruba speaking person in the neighborhood. I give people an instruction in Yoruba, and nobody can execute it. Why? Because they are hearing, they are listening, but those words they are hearing have not created an image in their mind. The human brain was designed to execute images, to execute pictures, not words. So any word that cannot be converted into a picture cannot be executed. I was working with a bank in Tanzania a couple of years ago, and they were having certain challenges in an area. They had beautiful targets for their staff and all that, but it just didn't seem to motivate the staff. All right. And so what did we do? We converted the words into pictures. We put up a picture of a house. Say, okay, you at this level, if you are able to hit this target, you will be able to live in this kind of house. If you are able to hit this target, your kids will be able to go to this kind of school. We just put pictures. The following year, they had exceeded targets by over 90%. So creating those images is what now propels action. All right, let me stop there. There's a lot more, but I think this, because of time, I think this drops enough for people to go and buy the book.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. Okay, let's go on. We still have about 8 minutes, but I want to ask you one question before we start to wrap up. And that question is this: we're going through this new normal, as it's being called. A lot of people are going through the pain of a pandemic. We're not quite out of the woods completely, but it's not better than when we started. Loads of initiatives have been started. How do you avoid going back to what life used to be before the upheaval of change that triggered you to act in the first place?
We cannot go back.
That's right.
We cannot go back because, I'll tell you why we cannot go back. People, human beings have been conditioned in a particular way. Now, employers in that, what? We have been spending so much money on 100 people, and during this period, this job was done by 20 people. Now, who's going to go back to 100? It's not going to happen. But my message to everybody concerning COVID and this, I looked at the nations that seemed to get a grip on it, and I looked at nations that were badly hit. And the fundamental difference, that was those people who took it just as a public health challenge were badly hit. Those who took it as an attack, as a declaration of war, were able to handle it better. And so when this thing came, I said, this way I handled it. This is a declaration of war. You cannot benchmark war. In war, decisions are made on the go. There's no time to tell stories and overanalyze. This war, you think and you do. I found out, and it's not late. It came clear lifestyle as you know it. So you need to, where is I have it. This the art of war, Sun Tzu. You need to look at that. I read another one. Let me show you. Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. And he gave a powerful story. He was the commander of the task force against Al Qaeda in Iraq. They were the best trained, the best equipped, and all that, but they were defeated. Why were they defeated? He said, the war for which we were trained no longer existed. The war for which we were trained no longer existed. And so many people coming out of COVID, that is the way you need to think, that the training you had for whatever you were doing before, it no longer exists. And I kept shouting, it's not a holiday, it's time to recalibrate. So I hope I helped somebody.
Yes, yes. All right. So we've got about 5 minutes left, and
Yeah.
I know there's an initiative you're working on called the Street University, and one of the things you've always said is this fact that the people that built the first university never went to university. And some people say, oh, is he against going to university or furthering education and all of that? Talk us through the street university. We've got about 4 minutes left, but talk us through that and how people can participate in that if they want to.
All right, let me start from the hard part, the part that you probably thought you would never hear me say. Let me start from there. Degrees are overrated. Read my lips. Degrees are overrated. The average lifespan of a degree is 5 years, and it is getting shorter. That means what you learned after 5 years, technology has overtaken it, trends have overtaken it. The people that went, that the first university or the degree awarding university started in Fez, Morocco, by in 59 AD. Al Qarin University, the woman was Fatima Al Fihiri. Now, think of this. She doesn't have a degree, all right? These people don't have degrees, but they decide what we are going to give everybody is a paper which we are going to call a degree. And nobody has challenged that model for all these years. And I discovered in the early, the early ones, how did they do it? It was a mentorship and apprenticeship model. Okay? Just like Jesus and the apostles, just like Paul became a lawyer learning under Gamaliel, just like Paul and Timothy and all that. It was an apprenticeship model. So what we have done is that we've created a platform. We have a company called the Street Hub, and we've created a platform where we have what we call the Street University. Now, what happens in the Street University? Just think of a mall, huge mall, where everybody goes, you have your own shop. So the Street University is a mall. It's a learner's mall, a learning mall, where we have facilitators coming to teach on public health, someone coming to teach on communication, somebody coming to teach on how to make jollof rice, how to make meat pies. People are coming to teach on every conceivable thing. All right, that is the plan. We're going to go later on this week, but you can log on to streetuniversity.com, register, and we have webinars every Tuesday and Thursday. Those are free webinars. We've been running this for months now. So when you subscribe to the Street University, you have access to every webinar and to hundreds and hundreds of videos that are being uploaded of different facilitators. All right. So if you'd like to join the open webinars, just go to Wale Akinyemi resource page on Facebook. You will get the details there, and I will also share the details with Syncterface.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. This has been an amazing time. Wale, this is just I wish we could extend this a little bit more, but we've come to the end of the time. But I'll say this really quickly, just as we start to shut down the program for tonight. September is going to be an absolute blast on the Syncterface media channels, the different outlets. We're going to be talking about different programs around industry verticals. We're going to be dealing with accelerating digital transformation in Africa. We're going to be dealing with media. One of the areas we have the biggest challenge is how do we tell our story? How do we as Africans tell our story? How do we as blacks tell our stories? We need to be able to tell our stories on our platforms. And that's why we've created this platform that enables that sort of storytelling in a professional manner. And we're also going to be talking about information security. In this world, this new normal, we have a lot of people now starting to do things online. How do you secure all these places? How do you make sure that your details are secure? We're bringing in experts, people who are at the top of their game in all these areas. So please, for all of you who are on the different channels, share this our website details on Facebook, the YouTube channel. Subscribe to all these things and you will get a lot of information on there. Akin, have I missed anything out before we shut down for tonight?
Nah, the rest is on the page, so we're good.
Yes, rest is on the page. Fantastic. And we'll leave you with some adverts as we shut down for tonight. Thank you for viewing. We appreciate your time.